Let's go. Right there. Right there. I'm so excited. I got 36, which means top 48, which means I got my invite.
Nice. Hey guys, we are back from regionals. Mac, how'd you do?
I did pretty good. I went X2-1, so I had 9 rounds of Swiss. I won 6 of the rounds. There was 2 losses and 1 draw, unfortunately. But I did end up getting into top cut. I was ranked 36th out of the top 48, so I think there was like 345 people there.
Yeah, something like that.
So I did pretty great. I'm pretty excited about the deck list because it was a little spicy, but it's what everyone loves. It is the Brave Adventure Package, Prank Kids. It's just goofy with
DPE, don't forget.
With DPE, of course, you got to have the Phoenix Enforcer himself. But yeah, so we can hop right into it, but
Alright.
I will go ahead and show you what we got.
Alright, let's start.
Okay, so first off, we're going to go ahead and we had 2 of each one of the kids going in order. We have the 4-star, we have Roxy's, Lampsies, Dropsies, and Fansies.
Why 2s?
You're playing 2s because the only way you can really play 3s is going to be if you're playing like a 50 or 60 card deck, and for consistency purposes, you only need to see one of any of the kids in your opening hand to be able to do full combo. So, we can go ahead and clear these bad boys out of here. They are the best lads. They're the mad lads. They did their job today. We had 2 place, 1 of the best card in the deck, and 1 of the fusion spell. You have to play 2 place, in my opinion, because it just helps you get into another name if you don't need it. It also helps you beat over things because you can reduce their monsters' attacks using the Link Summon, or if you are able to fusion summon out, you can increase your own attacks. It helped me a lot today. I beat over a Dragoon because of the field spell, so very helpful. Keep it in mind. But Pranks, Recursion lets you grind through the entire rest of the game. The Fusion spell, because it lets you get into all your fusion plays. That's all I really have to say about that. You need them in the deck to play the Pranks. Now, moving into what I think is probably the crackiest engine.
The workhorse.
The workhorse of this deck for sure. Deck, because it does work. But we had the 4 Water Enchantress. You run the Foolish Burial. Really, the only target you're going to be using it for in the entire deck is going to be the Water Enchantress. You're really running 4 of her if you're running the 1 Foolish. I don't think there's another target in the deck that you would want to run or want to target with Foolish instead of her. Maybe send one of your prank kids to the graveyard if you need it for pranks or something like
You can
that.
send a Destiny Hero monster if you somehow get another one in there just to get the draw.
Yeah, not a bad idea. You could use it on like Celestial or Dasher if you dump one of them with like whatever it is.
It's already uphill at that point.
Exactly. But jumping right back into it, we have the 3 Rite of Aramesir. You have to run the 3 because you're running the 4 Water Enchantress. And then the actual workhorses of the deck, Fateful Adventure, Dracoback, and Griffin Rider. You're obviously running 1 of each. Just for consistency purposes, you're running 40 cards. You don't want to be running doubles of any of them. But yeah, so they put in a ton of work today. Griffin Rider was negating things left and right. I was summoning him on my opponent's turn to block damage for game. He's just a ridiculous card.
Would you ever consider running more than 1 of either of them?
If I were to run more than 1 of either the Griffin Rider or the Dracoback, I would probably pick the Griffin Rider just because he's an extra body on board first turn. If you're not normal summoning or something like that beforehand, you can just plop him on field, and then even if you don't use him for the negate, he is still link material, so he's still very usable. He's just a free summon, so probably 2 Griffin Rider if you wanted to, but you really don't need to. And then we're going to go ahead and get into the package that you have to run, the 2 Fusion Destiny because we can't run 3 anymore, and then the Celestial and the Dasher. Yeah, you really just are going to be running these because you want to summon DPE. Celestial is a broken card. It's literally Pot of Greed on your next turn.
Draw 2 never felt so good.
Draw 2, yeah, they're
unsearchable.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so easy to set your hand in this game, and especially with this deck, because like side into Lancia. Well, spoiler alert, but side into Lancia, set the Lancia, draw 2. Like it's so easy to draw 2 with them. So yeah, just run them. They're amazing. We'll move into the hand traps section of the deck. We're going to be running 3 of the best hand trap in the format right now. Besides possibly Ghost Spell, after playing today, definitely realized we should be running Ghost Spell. 2 Imperm, 3 Ghost Ogre, and 3 Nibiru. These are in order of best to worst for how well they did today. Ash Blossom, it's ridiculous. Negates Branded Fusion, negates all their searches. It's a $20 common for a reason. It's just so good. Imperm, I would probably up this to 3. It's so good. It's better than Effect Failure. It just does so much work for you. Ghost Ogre, it's alright. It negates certain things, continuous spells, field spells, things like that. It's okay. I think in the format right now, you're definitely better off running Ghost Spell or Lancea or something along those lines. And then, what should be the best one, but really is one of the worst ones right now, Nibiru. Everyone's playing branded decks, fusion decks, things that are basically just going to be summoning 1 or 2 monsters and then passing. They can still go off, but any good player for the most part is going to have some form of recursion to get around Nibiru, so you probably shouldn't be running it. I would say run it in your side if you're really that worried about it, but other than that, there's probably a better option like Ghost Spell or something like that. Maybe even Gamma. I don't think Gamma's that good. But then go ahead and clear these away, and we will move into the spicy tech for the day. So, a little bit of a net deck. I know that Elijah topped and got first place with a similar deck. He ran 3 Droplet. I ran 3 Super Polymerization in the main. The reason for this is because Super Polymerization and Forbidden Droplet, I needed a card if I was replacing Forbidden Droplet, because let's face it, that card's really expensive. That was going to have a very similar impact on the game, which means that it's going to swing the tide in my favor if I'm falling behind. That and people really aren't expecting to see Super Polymerization in game 1. Yeah, so, yeah, they're not expecting to see it in game 1.
What was your crazy Super Poly moment?
Funny enough, it was in a game 1. I was playing against a Dark Magician player who was basically doing like a Dragoon Turbo. He was just spamming out Darkness Dragoon or whatever that frickin' card is. It's $1 million and it's really, really good. But so he summoned out a Dragoon using the Dragon card not the spell card, but the actual Dragon with Dark Magician. Got out of Darkness Dragoon. Then the next turn, after it came back from me, because I just stopped him from being able to stop me, essentially, I only had, like, a Lampsies on the board, and he was like, yeah, okay, I top-decked a Red Eyes Fusion, summons another one, and I'm like, I have 2 set cards. Activate Super Polymerization in game 1, and he's like, okay, and I take both of his Dragoons, make them into a, Starving Venom Dragon, and then I proceeded the next turn to make a Dark Charmer, and then immediately take his Dragoon from the grave and summon it, so he was just, like, furiously mad that I had this in my deck, and then I just outed it, destroyed him, won the game 1. And then won game 2 as well, so, yeah, he couldn't really get around the Super Polymerization, because they're all dark monsters. But yeah, so it's very spicy. It's a great for siding out too. You can side it out in like games 2 and 3 if you know that you're not going to be able to target any darks. But really, it was never too cloggy for me having it in my hand, because there's always cards that you're going to be able to discard off of effects or whatever it may be, or just set it as a bluff. I know that that's not a great excuse to run it in the main, but hey, it worked for me, so. But we'll move on to the extra deck now. Yep. Obviously, we're going to go ahead and start off with the main man himself that did the work today. It's the Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, mainly just running this because we're running that Super Poly in the main. We'll go ahead and move him away, but then we will move straight into the Prank Kids package. So we have the one card that's going to be banned pretty soon.
It's not going to get banned.
I think it's going to get banned. But anyway, it's very, very good. Really, you kind of do have a little bit of a point, because it's good for consistency, but if the Brave cards and DPE engines weren't as strong as they were, then Prank Kids wouldn't be an issue. So, yep, so Meow Mew, it's Link 1. It's all it needs to be.
Link 1s are the best cards in the game.
Link 1s are the best cards in the game, and Prank Kids, all of their effects trigger from just summoning a Link 1 that doesn't even have an effect on the field. So, moving on, we're going to go into the 2 Doodle Doo. They are Italian, so they're Ragazzi, Biricini, Chiri, or whatever it is.
Oh, no.
It's Italian. But yeah, so these guys, if you don't know the effect already, when it's summoned, you add the spell card, you contribute it, add the 2 from your grave back to your hand. He's ridiculous. You run 2 because you make 2 in the main combo, so you have to do that. Next up, Bow Wow Bark. You're only running 1 of him. You're using him solely, not for his second effect, but just to go ahead and add the 2 from your graveyard back to your hand during your opponent's turn, and then you're going to go ahead and use Pandemonium and Fusion Summon out on your opponent's turn. Yeah. You just want them because it lets you grab things on your opponent's turn. Attack bonus never really came up, so yeah. Fusion monsters, you're running the 1 Rocket Ride, 1 Weather Washer. Rocket Ride came up for me in 1 game today, and it did help me win. You definitely probably should still run it. It's worth the spot. Weather Washer, that card's busted. You run Super Polymerization in the main, so because people love running Prank Kids right now, round 1, Super Polymerization, wipe their guys off the field, summon your own Weather Washer.
No Pandemonium for you.
No Pandemonium for you. No combos for you, really. They summon Meow Meow or whatever, and then you Meow
do
Moo.
activate their effects.
You do activate their effect of their 1 Prank Kid, but for the most part, if you're summoning a Weather Washer on your opponent's turn, you're wiping off most of their stuff. So they don't have the Meow Meow, they don't get their Doodle Doo. Yeah, they have to have some kind of extender in order to get through it. So, and Super Poly, you can't chain to it. It's great. Well, you can't chain to, yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's great. We'll go ahead and get rid of those 2. Obviously, you're going to be running the 1 of Battle Butler. Yeah. But so, you run him. He's a Regeki on your opponent's turn. Sometimes you save the Meow Meow in your graveyard so you can Regeki your opponent's board twice while they're trying to combo. Pretty funny trying to watch them play around that. Most people, I feel like, don't know that you can use Meow Meow's effect because everyone's like, put it back in your extra deck. And it's like, sometimes you just banish it and then win the game off of Regekiing twice. So, yeah, he's a big beat stick. And then he has this second effect, too, where if he's destroyed, he can summon the 3 of them back to the field, which I feel like a lot of people forget about because I had a lot of DPE players trying to, like, force me to Regeki. And I was like, nah, that's fine, pop it. And then they would pop it, and then I would just summon them back out. So, yeah, not as great of a play as they would think it would be. But yeah, and then we'll move into combo pieces. 2 Link Spider. This is solely so you can get your tokens off the board when you need to start comboing into other links. One of these will be replaced for a Link Karibo instead, because it's a dark, so which is important for the next card, Dark, the Dark Charmer. Because if you run one of these as a Link Karibo, you can turn one of your tokens or your fansies into a Dark Link monster, which then lets you just go into the Dark Charmer way easier. And you'd be surprised, like, pretty much every single deck at this point, besides maybe, like, Flunder, is running some kind of Dark monster.
Yeah, D-Shifter.
D-Shifter, yeah, even they run Dark Monsters. So it's like just getting it out using Dark Charmer, and then you can like go into Unicorn or whatever it may be. It's just so strong. But yeah, so gonna swap out one of the Link Karibos or one of the Link Spiders for a Link Karibo. Moving on, what we were just talking about, Unicorn and the card that Unicorn is busted because of. But yeah, so you use Unicorn, you shuffle a card from their field back into their deck. And then you could make Unicorn with one other material, go into Access Code Talker. You get a 5,300 attack Access Code Talker, and then you can normally banish Unicorn as well as one of your other monsters in your graveyard, whether it's like Doodle Doo, Bow Wow Bark, Link Spider, like whatever it is. You can pop like 3 cards. So you just have to run it. I literally did Access Code Talker like 2 pops attack for game, like 2 or 3 times today, and it's just a busted card. Run it. Okay, and then we'll go into the last extra deck monsters. We have the best card, the card that lets you get into the best card. You would be surprised with it being semi-limited how many times you hard draw Fusion Destiny.
Oh, it's like in my hand all the time.
Yeah, it's actually kind of great because I played against a Dogmatica player today who banished my or sent my Verte from my extra deck to the graveyard twice during 2 different games, and one of the games I just hard drew into Fusion Destiny using Roxy's effect. So I was just like, cool, activate. I don't care about Verte being sent to the grave. And he was like, cool. So Dogmatic players probably just banish the DPE. But yeah, we will move on to the side deck.
All right.
Side deck. One of the best hand traps in the game right now. Lancia, so many things banish. There's ritual cards for Dogmatica. There are branded fusion cards that banish. I mean, I feel like everything banishes. You can use this on Flunderies. They can't banish. They want to have their cards banished. Banishing has just become such an additional mechanic to the game that Lancia is just one of the best cards in the format.
And this should probably be main decked, right?
I really feel like you can main deck it. The only problem is that there are a few matchups where you wouldn't want it. To be honest, I really think that you could take out the Nibiru's, and Lancia would probably do more for you than a Nibiru. So that's what I would say about that. Moving on to next, what I think could also replace Nibiru. Joel Knockbird. There are a few decks that don't do any... it doesn't do much against, but the decks that it does do stuff against, it cripples them. It's the same as Lancia. It can pretty much just be a turn skip. Like Flunderies, they normal summon Ravina, they add a card to their hand, you activate Joel Knockbird, they normal summon the Eaglin, and then they're like, I can't search for my tribute summon, so they just can't play. So very, very good. I definitely recommend playing them in your side or main. These are just hand traps that you need to have. So, let's move on to the next ones. Token Collector, 3 of them. Everything's pretty much a 3 of inside of the side deck. I think Token Collector's probably not that good. It's pretty good, but I mean, mainly in this deck, it's like you're going to be blocking your own token summons, so it's just not the best. I think you could probably run it, you could probably not run it. It doesn't really matter a whole lot, especially in this format where everyone's running Branded Fusion. There's not a ton of tokens, so still Brave, I guess they run tokens, but you're running that too, so you don't want to stop your own. And then we'll move on to the next 3. The Back Row Hate. We are running 1 red reboot because it's limited to 1, and I really hate Altergeist, and that's the reason why I ran it. No further explanation. Other than that, 2 Twin Twister. It's just really good for Back Row Hate. Came in clutch against Dogmatica, also against the Flunderies player, because if you blow up their field spell or their continuous spell, or any of the other spells like Anti-Spell Fragrance, they just can't do much to stop you at that point, and they just lose a lot of advantage. So just good to have. Also, if you activate during the standby or draw phase to blow up their set Dreaming Town, that also really hurts them. So, and then the last card in the side, 3 Solemn Judgment. It's just really good. It's a going first card. To be honest, I would probably take this out, given the opportunity that I've seen now. I pretty much always sided this in Game 3, because I would be going first, because I normally lost Game 2, or I had won both. But when it comes to time, because you can get there pretty close, you don't really want to be cutting your life points in half, because of the fact that even though you are gaining 1,000 normally twice within like 1 or 2 turns because of Dropsies, and then burning for 1,000 because of Lampsies, it's like normally when you cut your life points by about 4k, or if you've already used Dropsies by like 45k, then it's pretty hard to get back from that when time is like 2-3 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, this really hurts your time game.
Yeah, it hurts your time game a lot. So it worked for me 1 game, but there was another game that it hurt really, really bad. So I didn't lose, but it was still like probably not worth it. There's other cards to definitely put in. I think that Dimensional Barrier is really good right now because so many things are running fusion summons. So I definitely probably tech that in. That's the entire deck profile. We also did a vlog of round-by-round synopsis of what we did, myself and Adam. We also want to shout out Great Lakes Gaming. They're an amazing store. Please go and check them out, as well as Eternal Games. There's a bunch of stores in the Michigan Midwest area that you should be checking out. But I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone that came out today. And thank you so much to Adam for filming everything.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. And we will see you later.
See ya.
Bye.